Well, I'm here because we're very concerned about the health of the marine environment, and we're hoping that the governments will endorse this process for describing ecologically or biologically significant areas.
Um, Tell us about some specific issues that your organization is targeting.
Well, IUCN is targeting a number of issues that we cover everything on the planet, but my particular area is on oceans beyond national jurisdiction, beyond 200 miles from the shoreline. That's trying to make sure that we have awareness of what is going on out there as well as future mechanisms to protect it.
When you talk about global marine, is your you look at global marine or any specific geographical part of the world?
Well, my remit is the high seas. Essentially, that is anywhere that's beyond 200 nautical miles from shore.
So, talking about high seas, help us understand some of the latest trends. That has been alarming. That contributes to the endemic biodiversity depletion.
Well, we know we already have problems with respect to overfishing, illegal fishing. Now we have vast rafts of plastic out in the middle of the gyres of the ocean, including in the Indian Ocean. And then on top of that, we have the impacts of climate change, which is causing warming water temperatures, which affects the currents, creates areas of less oxygen, and so the species, the fish that live there, are now actually losing habitat in the water column. We also have ocean acidification, which can significantly affect the deep sea corals that live down 2,000 meters deep.
Since you look at the global marine issue, high seas, um, help us understand: is it because of lack of important regulatory framework and policies, or is it because they're not implemented?
Well, it's both. We have the Law of the Sea Convention, which does cover all maritime activities, from shipping to fishing, seabed mining. The problem is, one, that it is very general. It doesn't deal with the concept of biodiversity. The term wasn't even developed in 1982 when it was negotiated. And then it's poorly implemented. Governments have rights, freedoms to sail the high seas, but they also have duties to protect and preserve the marine environment.
Um, Tell me what have been some of the major steps taken to reduce the pollution in the high seas area, and what kind of positive impacts have been seen over the last couple of years?
Well, I just came from the Marine Environment Protection Committee of the International Maritime Organization, and they have adopted a new amended version of MARPOL, the Marine Pollution Convention, to prohibit the discharge of garbage into the ocean, all types of garbage. It used to just be plastics, but then you would throw away your floating dunnage, your packing materials. So they're really trying to get at it that way. But there are, of course, many other issues from land as well as from sea.
Since a lot of private players who use the high seas for their cargo shipping, etc., also have to participate, and there has to be a very stringent disincentive framework. Have the private players in the cargo shipping industry been cooperative and responsible in the recent times?
Well, we are working closely with the shipping industry in one specific area. You asked which area I focused on, the Sargasso Sea. It's an area of 4 million square kilometers across the North Atlantic. The shipping community is very interested. We worked with them to develop a poster that shows the species that inhabit the Sargasso Sea, the ones that pass through it, and put a plea, essentially, don't discharge anything while you're passing through. The companies have been quite enthusiastic about this, just as a tool of education. We may try to look at potential regulations or at least new encouragements or disincentives to discharge the garbage.
While you are taking up these activities in the high seas area, what are the biggest challenges that you see?
Well, again, it's in part the absence of a legal framework for biodiversity conservation. And the Convention on Biological Diversity calls for cooperation in the high seas. But unfortunately, it simply doesn't regulate anything, or it doesn't recommend marine protected areas or such. So we're looking at trying to plug that gap while we find what other measures we can to protect the high seas.